If you are an avid Manor Lords player such as myself, you are going to be excited about the new additions that are coming to Manor Lords in the very near future, and we are going to dive right in and see what they are. Stand by. To get started, we are looking at new Burgage plot levels. As you can see in this picture here, they look stunning. So this is very interesting in how they're going to do this. They go in to say that this is the new Burgage plot level plan for the next update. This new level sits between the existing levels 2 and 3. Internally, we've been calling it 2.5, and its goal is to more smoothly bridge the gap between the early and late game housing. So what this changes, adding a new housing level naturally means tweaking some existing mechanics. One notable change is to the Burgage plot expansion upgrade. Rather than doubling the living space within the plot, it will now always add +1 living space regardless of the plot level. At the base level, Burgage plot level 3 provides 2 living spaces. Burgage plot level 4 provides 3 living spaces. This keeps the housing progression more consistent as plots scale upwards. So it's very interesting out there. So 2.5, no longer will you be going to tier 2 to directly tier 3. You have to stop in the center really quick to see what's going on. But as you can see, it's just going to add a nice little bit of detail to your overall cities. As we get into this near new expansion. I love the look of the new houses. It's going to certainly add a certain kind of depth and change amongst the towns, which is going to be nice to see. They've also adjusted the residential requirements, so we've also made Burgage plot level 2 a bit more forgiving to upgrade. The small stone church is no longer required to reach level 3. That said, constructing it will still provide a substantial influence bonus, so it remains worthwhile to have if you have the means. I don't know that I ever really found it difficult to go from level 2 to level 3, honestly, because by the time you get the level 2s going, you should already have the stone and the means of at least upgrading to the basics of the small stone church. So I don't know that it was all that difficult, but the change is welcomed. Let's see how it works. I think it's going to be great nonetheless. In the Artisan workshop progression, they go on to say that alongside housing changes, we've also been experimenting with more varied workshop progression. While we intend on adding other specialized workshops in the future, for this update, we're considering moving the Baker extension to Burgage plot level 3. This may encourage greater use of the communal oven early on, while also giving players an additional incentive to work towards level 3 housing. And they also go on to say that the cobbler extension may move to this level as well, since shoes as an item aren't strictly required until this stage of progression anyways. As always, these changes are still being tested, and we're keen to hear how they sound from the progression and pacing standpoint. When it comes to the communal oven, I have to say, I think I use that the most. I don't know that I've ever really upgraded a Burgage plot to a baker. I have to be honest, I always just use communal ovens because it always seemed like they were doing just fine and pumping out bread and getting those to the markets and dishing out the bread that I needed. So I don't know that I've ever actually tried the baker, so I guess I'll have to try that. But if they're moving it to level 3, it must pump out a lot more bread. I've always kind of relied on the communal ovens. Get 2 or 3 of those bad boys within your city, in and around, and boy, they just go to town, pumping out bread left, right, and center. So not too big of a change, but for those of you that do use the baker often, unfortunately, it is now being passed on to level 3, but this is also just to encourage more level 3 upgrades instead of being stuck at level 2. They're also going to be messing around with some trade rework. We've seen the reaction to the new development perk system and lots of speculation and suggestions as to what's coming next for it. The next tier of perks will arrive after the Burgage plot update, and it will be focused on the trade privileges. But before committing to the trade-focused perks, we saw an opportunity to add more depth to the trade system itself, introducing new layers of strategic decision-making. What we're aiming for is a trade system that allows economic competition between rival lords, not just military conflict, clearly separates regional and foreign trade, streamlines inter-regional trade and bartering, and feels less predictable with opportunities that vary between playthroughs. One concept we're currently exploring focuses on merchants as the backbone of foreign trade. So this could be very interesting in that it sounds like what they're going to go into is you could almost corner the market or strangle the market, if you will, by buying off trade zones or trade points or owning the trade market indefinitely. And you don't have to worry too much about military. That's kind of what I'm gathering from it. But then they go into with the trade routes as locations. In this system, trade routes are tied to specific locations. For example, Passau, each city imports and exports a small number of goods. Passau might import charcoal, leather, and barley, while exporting iron, polearms, and large shields. Each good has its own unique price and a city tariff. These would change from game to game to keep things fresh. While a good like iron may appear on multiple routes, some cities will offer better places than others, making certain routes more desirable and more contested. That's very interesting. So they're completely reworking the trade system as a whole, which actually is pretty cool. That's going to add a whole little depth of gameplay. They also go on with the merchants and trade volume. Each trade route supports up to 3 merchants to trade along a route. You must hire one. Merchants have one-off hire fees. Once hired, they visit your trading post every 3 months. Each visit can move up to 100 goods in and out based on your desired surplus setting. Hiring additional merchants on a route increases trade volume with arrivals spaced out evenly. Next on their list is going to be competition and buyouts. This seems to be like what I was just mentioning, where you can actually completely control the market and trade. Other lords can compete with you for access to valuable routes. If all merchants on the route are already hired, another lord may perform a buyout of an existing merchant. Doing so increases the hire fee and applies a cooldown before they can be bought again. They complete their existing trade if they were already en route with goods. This turns profitable routes into contested economic territory rather than guaranteed income. And there it is. You can control the markets by hiring out the merchants and completely cutting off any of your enemies that are working off that trade. That is going to be very interesting. They also go in with monopolies and economic pressure. Over time, this system allows for deliberate economic strategies. You could, for example, attempt to monopolize iron slabs by hiring all merchants on routes and export them. This would be expensive, but could leave a rival lord without access to iron, forcing them to adapt by paying inflated prices, expanding into an iron-rich region, or negotiating with you directly. In some cases, this might lead to diplomatic deals where a rival trade excess weapons or other goods in exchange for iron slabs, effectively paying you as the middleman. Yeah, so that's going to add a whole different strategy to the game. If you have a region that has a very high resource, for example here, right, rich in iron or rich in stone, rich in wool, anything, clay, and you want to control that market, you can completely buy out and then force them almost to have to trade with you or pay super inflated prices. That's going to be interesting, but it'll also have the side effect of people will hate your guts and they might attack more often, which is that's okay. That's okay. That comes with the pressure and the economic pressure that they're going to be throwing out there. I am all for it. That sounds phenomenal. Caveats they go on to say, though, there are some important trade-offs to this approach. In this concept, assigned families stock the trading post, but do not act as merchants for foreign trade. They will for inter-regional routes, we'll discuss later, but this means that every foreign trade requires a hired merchant, even for low-tier goods. In a worst-case scenario, if you run out of regional wealth and all your merchants are bought out, you may need to rely on your plots, clawing together some passive income before being able to trade again. To balance this, low-tier goods would appear on many routes, while high-tier goods would be limited to a few, making them more competitive and more strategically valuable. That is going to be... It sounds like they're completely... I mean, comment down below and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like they're completely reworking the trade tables here. And it's, I don't know, almost... It's a whole different play style. And that's how I'm taking it. It's not going to be as simple as it is now. They are completely reworking the trade system and very much making that a integrate part of the game that's going to change things drastically. But with all this, they do ask for your guys' feedback. The trade rework represents some ideas we're exploring, but we felt it had enough potential to bring to the community early. We're interested in how this kind of competitive trade feels to you, what concerns it raises, and whether it adds meaningful strategic choice to the game. A nice potential benefit is perks and policies can then adjust the hiring fee, buyout costs, value of goods, frequency of merchants, availability of routes, and more. More concepts are brewing, and your feedback will help guide what we pursue next. Please do leave us your thoughts and reviews and comments. I think it's going to change the game pretty drastically. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just think that this whole rework of the trade system is going to keep you on your feet. Right now, it's relatively easy to start. You build your city, you start trading your basic necessity item that you can get in any region, which is wood planks. That's your basic first source of income through the trade. You can get a lot of money for it right off the bat to start establishing your more profitable trades that you have, whether it be iron or polished stones, anything that you want and you need the major trade route, you can always, it's very easy to get to right now. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this works out, but comment down below, let me know what you guys think. Anyways, that's going to do it for this, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for watching and have an incredible day.